Hello everybody, welcome back to Trog Donkey's Asphalt Aprons podcast, the show where we talk Freemasonry, brotherhood, pikes, life and everything in between.
And tonight we've got a cracking guest with us, a man who has probably become one of the most recognisable and active Right Worshipful Masters in the province of Midlothian over the last couple of years.
We're delighted to welcome the Right Worshipful Master, Mark McCluskey of Lodge St Leonard, Loanhead and Lasswade, number 580.
Thanks very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm an avid follower of the podcast, so I'm really delighted to be here and be on it and be here with you.
Mark and his team at 580 have been doing things a bit differently over the last couple of years. The Green Nights with a twist, major social events, bringing lodges together, attracting younger members and creating a real buzz around the lodges.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to chat about leadership, culture, progression in the lodge, attracting younger members into the craft, and what other lodges could maybe learn from what's happening at 580. So Mark, let's kick off at the deep end. Tell us a little about yourself and your journey into Freemasonry, where it all began.
I'm originally from Edinburgh, and I joined the Royal Navy. When I came out, I had an illustrious and very brief military career. And when I came out, I applied to the police. The Strathclyde were recruiting at the time, so I applied through to Strathclyde, and I started through there. 22 years between uniform and CID, different ranks. I got injured during G8, and my ankle was reconstructed twice, and I got an ill health pension. And so I thought, right, that's great, I got a pension, 6 months, I'll learn how to play golf, learn how to do X, Y, and Z. My ex-wife had other ideas, and I checked my emails one morning, and there was this email from North Lanarkshire Council saying, congratulations, you've been successful in your application. I was straight on the phone to her. She was a DCI at the time, and I was saying, listen, Sam, you need to change this, you need to change that. She said, what's happened? And I told her, and she said, no, that was me. I applied for a few jobs for you because I didn't know what to see you idle. It's one of the best things that's happened, because I went straight into work within 4 weeks, and I'm with the same organisation now, paid over to Cosla, where I'm an investigator and having a great time, work with great people, working on interesting inquiries. And I'd say that I'm living my best life at the moment.
Excellent. And well, what drew you to Freemasonry? Was it is there a family link, or was it just, did someone approach you, or did you, what got that initial hook to you?
Well, it turns out there are family members in the craft that I wasn't aware of. I'd always had a wee interest. I remember I was at a Cranston police office. One of the guys went in his pocket and he came out with some shrapnel to get my bottle of juice. And there was this coin, and I went to pick it up, and he goes, oh no, you don't have to see that one, son. So he put everything back in his pocket. So I asked a few questions then, but I didn't progress it because I was too busy. Like, my private life and my professional life were too busy. And I was in the Tynecastle Arms one day, and I'd heard someone talking about Gordon Simpson, this Master Gordon Simpson at 580. He said, Gordon's in the craft. He's just been elected to the chair in his lodge. And I thought, this is an opportunity. So, you know the old adage, if you want to be one, ask one.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. 2 weeks later, my form submitted, and a month later, initiated into 580, and never looked back since. It filled a void for me at the time as well. It came out right at the right time for me. My marriage had broke up a few years before, and I'd come out of another long-term relationship and changed jobs. I say the same organisation, but roles changed. We were paid. There's a lot of uncertainty. Despite having great friend groups in Edinburgh and in Airdrie, there was still a void during the evenings, and I had to find something to do. And there was that camaraderie missing, that sense of belonging, and I found that at 580.
Joining the lodge will certainly pull up any void you've got in the evenings.
I mean, I can relate to it. I mean, that was one of the reasons when I had my inquiry meeting, was because I'd always had an active life, being part of something over the years, and then when I gave up teaching karate and everything, there was a void. I wasn't a part of anything until, Freemasonry came into my life, and now it's everything. It's interesting. I mean, what sort of time scale are we talking about? How far back was your journey beginning?
7 years ago.
So 7 years ago, and this is your second year as master.
That's not a long time.
It's more by accident than design. I think there was no deal.
Is that one of the main reasons why you've taken the chair as well? Was there any specific reason for that? Or was it just circumstance and the timelines itself that sort of dictated the way it was going?
I was quite fortunate that a few brethren took an interest in my personal and Masonic development. So I was yet to go into office, and past Master Jimmy Young, he said, I want you to do a 20-minute talk. I want you to do a lecture on your journey into Freemasonry.
All right, okay.
And funny enough, that lasted about half an hour. And on the back of that, he said, how'd you like to go into office next year? So I took on junior deacon, senior deacon a couple of years. Then Stevie Ritchie came in as master, and Stevie continued that development. And it became apparent when I moved from junior to senior deacon that was me now in the progression. I wasn't filling the office because there wasn't someone else to fill the office.
Mm-hmm.
This was a preordained sounds a bit cliched, but that was me in the progression with the ultimate intention of going to the chair. And it's not something I took on lightly.
So following Steve Ritchie obviously into the chair, you would have seen Steve, he did do things slightly different as well at 580. I think Steve kind of sort of looks at things differently from the norm. It's always been done this way. It's always been done that way. And I like the way that you guys are sort of looking at way things are. You can do it differently. Is that one of the things that you thought about early on, or is it something that you've always wanted to do?
I think that came primarily from a friendship that I developed with John Gray through at Newmarket Montrose 88. I'd visited a couple of times, and when I'd first started, John took me under his wing and got me out visiting, so it exposed me to the same traditions but different cultures, and bringing those I quite liked those different cultures, and I found it quite refreshing at times to see things that were done quite sometimes dramatically differently, not just marginally differently. There's marginal differences in the provinces, you know. I think it was important that you do try and bring something with you, but maintain your lodge's traditions and the values, because the past you're 150-year-old, there's been 150 years worth of masters that have built that solid foundation for me to work with, not to change.
Yeah, but you are going to see the differences through in the West. Because after having visited a few lodges through there, sometimes I'm going through it expecting a degree to run one way. I think, oh my God, what's going on here? Because you're actually learning something totally different. I like that aspect of it as well. Because sometimes you can get a wee bit too complacent and going to the same degrees over and over and over. But through there, you're seeing things totally different. I like that.
I think it's great. I enjoy it. Even within our own province, you've got Thorntree and Newbattle, who are markedly different from the rest of us, but great, enjoyable, fantastic degrees with great ritualists as well.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you step out of Midlothian, it's all change and it's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
Visiting lodges confirmed degrees, and whilst the lodges are actively confirmed degrees, they very rarely do it within their own temple. It's always out on deputations doing it elsewhere.
Yeah, we went through, I can't even remember the name of the lodge we were at.
The one over in Ayrshire?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
That was a marked degree.
That
we
was a
were
marked
through
degree,
there.
and
It was a different lodge. And I think they were called the Blue Lodge, weren't they?
Possibly.
Sure.
I think that's the thing. We mentioned in previous episodes how, although you're sitting through a degree again with First Gate, it's part of someone else's journey.
Yeah.
And if it's something different when you're visiting a different lodge, it's a new experience for you as well. You know, because we'd said before that it's always good to say, I remember when I was at your first degree or when I was at your second. But I also remember when you went to another lodge and saw it done slightly different, went, well, that's interesting. It's always a learning thing. As you said, so you don't become complacent.
Yeah.
You're not sitting there going, oh, they do it different, they do it wrong, they do it this. You're going, oh, that's unusual. But then you can still see the context that they're doing it in. You mentioned earlier that you're from Edinburgh originally. You're now through more in the West. For me and for a lot of people, I know kudos to yourself for coming all the way to the West, Loanhead to 580 every week as master. I mean, that's dedication. You know, there's people that are living closer that sometimes can't make it and things like that. You always seem to go above and beyond. And you're for being in the various groups that we're in together. It's interesting to see that you're always letting people know where you're going to be. You're always letting people know if you can't make it because of work, things like that. You've got a real dedication to your lodge, and I think that's a shining example for any future masters coming through. I mean, I know I will love to have my time in the chair at some point. I'm not in a rush to get there, but I'll get it. But it's a good thing for me to see people like yourself and like Trog here and stuff, as you say, having sort of mentors that have been in the chair and how they can guide you and how they can, give you a wee idea of maybe what to do, what not to do, what to avoid. Why, this sounds a weird question. Was there no compunction to go, why am I travelling all the way through Edinburgh when I can go to a lodge that's nearer?
No, not in the slightest. No, it was a privilege and an honour to, and I'm not trying to be cliched when I say that, but absolutely it's a privilege and honour to be the master of your mother lodge. And the travelling, it's not for everyone, but what makes it worthwhile is the people. It's the people in the building, the visitors that come and visit you, the different stories you hear at Harmony where we share stories about our own lodges. And the camaraderie and the sense of belonging.
Yeah.
You know, it's worth that journey. I didn't feel that way when it took me 2 hours to get in for Portobello one night. And I was driving Kevin King, he had a gin waiting, he was the very happy either. But I knew what I was getting into, and I signed up to it, and I'm more than happy to do it. It's not for everyone, but it's for me.
As Stevie says, though, kudos to you for doing that, because we do remember when you first took on your first year in the GR. And there were questions. Oh, I don't know, but Mark's come out to me. I don't know, he's been managing all the meetings because, he's through in the West. And, we don't know, we don't know. And then within about 2 or 3 months, I think you proved the doubters all wrong. It was a case of, you smashed it, mate, and the amount of visiting that you've done over that amount of time, I'm sure that's bound to inspire a lot of other Masons who are coming up through the GR. Well, if Mark can do it, Mark can put in that commitment as well. I'm sure we can. And really, when you're looking at what you're doing, there's not a lot of excuse for other people either, because you are holding down a full-time job. You are doing various other things. You do a prolific amount of visiting through the West. And we must pay homage to your fiancée now, Bernie, because she makes a lot of sacrifices for you for doing all this. And she comes through for you quite a lot. How has this affected her this last year and now going into your second term? Or basically you're midway through your second term now.
The first year was really hard for her. We've been together just over 3 years, and the first year was particularly hard as master. It wasn't really 2 meetings a week, representing the lodge as a senior warden. It was going out 3-4 times a week, commitments at weekends, and she found it hard to cope at first. But then when I asked her to do the ball, that was it. She came into her own, and I thought she delivered a fantastic evening on the night. Now that we're living with each other, she's trying to get me out of the house. Did you go to a meeting tonight?
I was warned about that. If that happens with Brenda, there'll come a point where she'll say, "You not going out tonight."
So I can take the hint when I come home and the shirts are already ironed for me, so I'm not having to do that myself.
I've got somewhere to go.
But she's adapted really well. Her dad, he was 70 when he joined 580. Davy lives in Baileyson, and he's back into full-time work with Motherwell Football Club now. He's not out as much as he'd like to be. He gets through when he can, but he attends local lodges through there too. I thought I'd pulled a master stroke getting him in the craft.
I was there as first and second.
You were there, yeah.
And it's like Eddie in our lodge. When Eddie showed an interest in our lodge, he was living through here, and then he was moving through to Glasgow. And I said, "Look, if you want to find a lodge in Glasgow, I'll help you, because obviously that's closer." And he went, "No, I'm quite happy just to file along there, mate." And fair play to him, he's turned up. Most times, there's the odd time he can't because he's working and things like that. But there was one time the guys were attending a funeral of a former member who had passed, and Eddie came to that. Now, Eddie didn't know hardly knew anybody at the lodge at that time because he was just in, and certainly didn't know the member had passed, but made the effort and came through. And it's a dedication like that. And I think that has to come from somewhere, that people have to see that happening somewhere, whether it's yourself or someone else. But I think it's a great beacon for Freemasonry where you can see people travelling, and certainly even John Gray. John Gray has been a number of nights at 580, so he's coming through as well. Personally, I'd like to get through more to the West, because on my wife's side, there's family members that were Freemasons and lodges through there, and I'd like to sort of visit them. So it just goes to show that travelling isn't necessarily an issue.
Aspect as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can't do everything. That's the thing. It's fitting it in. And I'm 100% in agreement with you about, for me, when I joined, it was very much about my wife has to be behind me, or my partner has to be behind me on this. And she was all for it. And she appreciates what's happening, but it's getting that happy medium, because you do have to have a life as well.
It's like everything in life, isn't it? It's finding that life balance.
Totally. Bernie's been an absolute trooper, and she's adapted so well. So much so, in fact, that the provincial ball recently, she's saying, "We're living with each other, so you know what they're third year."
You heard it here first, folks, just in case anybody from 580
that can be Eddie today.
Ken Harris, no, right? He'll have you in for 5 years.
It could be Eddie for price. But that's the thing. But it also lets you know that not necessarily maybe going to share for third year, but if you want to take your Masonic journey further, you know that Bernie's got your back.
Yeah, the support's there, right?
Speaking of going into year 2, 150 a year for 580, moving into second year, what would you see has been one? Well, you've probably got more than one, but what's your proudest moment so far
of the 150th year?
Both being master in the 150th year as well. I mean, that's probably something that will sit up there quite high, I would imagine.
The biggest moment for me in the 150th year was the rededication ceremony. I just thought that was special. I'd been to a couple before, and I hadn't listened to the ritual that was being delivered, but I hadn't heard the ritual that was being delivered. But when it was my own lodge and it's getting delivered to you, I took it all in, and it was an absolutely special day and special evening. That'd be the proudest, and that'd be my proudest moment in the 150th. But with regards being master, that there's so many, but being able to confer distinguished service membership and honorary membership on brethren who've done so much for 580, for the craft in general, for Freemasonry, they're probably my proudest moments, particularly the DSM.
So just, well, if we take a step back, you're in your first year, your 150th anniversary is coming up. Did you feel a bit of any pressure about taking a second year with it being such an important year? Or was it, yeah, bring it on, I'm up for this?
I was nervous. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was nervous, but I was excited, and I was really humbled at the prospect of being a master for the 150th. And during my first year, I did say to the past masters, if there's someone who's more deserving, who's been in the lodge longer, who's not been in the chair yet, or a past master who should be in the chair for the 150th, then I'm happy to step aside, and I'll do another year after this. But they were all keen for me to do it as well. I'm very, very fortunate. My past masters are behind me 1,000,000%.
Yeah, you've got a strong bunch up there.
Aye, I really do. The office bearers as well. So it was with a bit of trepidation, but it was a fantastic. It still is a fantastic year. The events aren't finished yet. We've got more 150 events coming up, but to see everything be nervous would be lying to me.
I was actually just going to say, I mean, we've been honoured enough, Trog and I being at the rededication ceremony and a few other events that are at 580 this year. And I've got my tie, I've got the book and things like that. I mean, yeah, and it's all there. But I mean, I suppose in a sense, it sort of puts you in that bit of lodge history as well as being the master in the 150th year. And I think, if anything, you've taken that and rammed it big time with the amount of things that you and the brethren at 580 are wanting to do. How have the brethren felt about all the celebrations and the events that they've been doing so far and what's coming ahead?
The brethren of 580 are a very close-knit, supportive group. They've been absolutely brilliant. We're no doing events or having celebrations that don't have a Masonic tradition. You know, the rededication was one, past masters dinner that's coming up, our community night that's coming up next week. I think a breakthrough tradition was inviting the Provincial Grand Lodge in to do a degree, and we were honoured to have them come in and do an absolutely fantastic degree. To see so many lodges coming together in the province to support their own provincial office bearers, it's a fantastic sight in the lodge. But we have other things coming up. We're going to have a memorial service for the departed merit, but prior to that, we're having a Lodge of Sorrows, and then we are next
When are you
year.
doing that?
Lodge of Sorrows will be in September.
Right.
There's immediate past master Henry Dunbar for Calder Creek St John's going to officiate.
All right, okay.
He's done that before. And in the new year, our 3 sponsor lodges, we've invited them to head deputations in for my final hurrah, my last meeting in the chair.
Progressive Lodge.
So much to ask. What would you say you've learnt so far in your time in the chair? What's been the biggest lesson you think you've learnt as an individual?
Listen to advice and counsel, without a doubt. Sometimes you think you're doing the right thing, you've got the right idea, and you maybe want to move forward with something, but when people object, sometimes it's no just because it's changing, they're resistant to change, it's because there's a good reason. And after a good discussion, we always come to a pretty much unanimous decision, or a unanimous way forward. We always present a public face at 580 that's one and it is very united, but it's been able to listen to the opinions of others and not try to stamp my own mark on things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that will kind of step us into the next segment we're going to talk to you about, is the term progressive lodge. What does that mean to you? Is it about the ritual, social life, the lodge visibility, the growth, or taken into all of the above?
Oh, that's a massive question. I'll try and blow that one out.
Yeah,
break it down. A progressive lodge is one that embraces change but doesn't abandon tradition.
Good answer.
Spot on. I would.
Yeah, absolutely. Next segment.
That wasn't that. I totally agree. I thought you have to do that, and I think Freemasonry in general, and we've seen that in recent years with social media.
The last couple of years.
A lot more happening on social media in the last few years. Whereas we've discussed before, when you go back, 10, 20 years, whatever it was just, mentions in the paper and things like that. And I think that's done so much for it. But just because you're using new technology and new aims and new ideas doesn't mean you forget where you come from. There's a way of combining the two. And I think that's one of the things that yourself and the brethren at 580 have been really good at. I mean, one of the things that I never thought about before, but it was the 5th Thursday degree night. Now, tell me how you came up with that one.
So that was pretty much stolen. But for them,
Good steal. Excitement.
borrowed. But I borrowed it. I'm not getting it back. I was quite conscious that there's 5 lodges meeting on Thursday. Sales in Portobello and the alternate fortnights, and Thorntree and Globus Dundas meeting the other Thursdays. And ourselves in Portobello very rarely got a chance to see each other. And likewise, those other 3 lodges we never got a chance to visit. I think there's every 4 months, there's a 5th Thursday. And I'd asked the lodges if they would have a warden's degree. And it was pretty much, that was what I saw in Lanarkshire Middle Order, taking part in one through there when I was senior warden. They were all up for it. Free lodge at meets on a Thursday, put their office bearers up. We filled every single position. We had all the rituals covered, and they were all wardens within their mother lodges. And Ritual Master Brother Robin Farrer, he was desperate to get involved. He ambushed proceedings, and he actually stood in as an office bearer that night as well. I think it was David Mitchell put him up to it. Robin wasn't aware, and are you not coming on the Thursday? Next thing is a text message, how am I not invited? Robin's such a great guy, will do anything for anyone, but it was all the wardens, and it was pretty much the same as the reigning master's degree, but with wardens.
It was a great night, and the lodge was packed.
Aye, it was good to see all the different brethren come out to support their office bearers. And I think we're not just here we're not here to compete with each other, we're here to support each other.
And it was a great chance for, as you say, lodges that don't normally get to visit each other because they're on the same night, to actually meet up.
Aye.
Do the degree and catch up in the harmony afterwards.
Well, I suppose as well, like going back to the provincial lodge degree as well, do you think that having provincial doing the degree like that, do you think that would probably strengthen ties between the lodges with provincial?
Absolutely.
Just watching them do it.
Aye, it's when I first joined, there was a fear, provincials coming in. They trying to do a live degree. We need to do a second. And there's all these misconceptions that the provincial were there just to inspect and judge. But far from it. They're there to guide, lead, mentor, counsel. And I found that out over the past 3 years that they're there to help me. They're not there to judge me.
You see the difference with the progressive masters, provincial grand masters. You see the difference with them. How they're all looking at doing things differently. Aye. And Robert Reidlaw, he's doing things totally different from the last provincial grand master, from Stephen. But you know what? It's like everything else. It's progressive. It's up to change, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing, though. A different level, but it's the same sort of hierarchy. The masters doing something different in the lodge, provincial masters doing something within the province.
It's the same as
Master Masons doing something within.
Coming with different ideas.
Everywhere.
And that's what it's all about. I suppose that's why you're always going to say it's progressive.
That's important. Sorry, sure.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But when you're talking progression, it's not always progression within degrees or within the offices. Progression itself is looking forward.
Aye, it's. I think we have a tendency to be quite insular and parochial. You've got to look beyond your 4 walls and see what other people are doing.
Definitely.
One of the things that you have been really good with, and I think this ties to you and the brethren as well, because it's obviously, as we said earlier on, to be one, ask one, is you had a lot of candidates coming in now and that are new Masons now, new Master Masons, they've gone through degrees, but they're younger. And I think that's one thing that the lodges are all asking themselves, what do we need to do to make Freemasonry attractive to the younger generation, or what questions do we need to answer to them, things like that. And I know in some cases there's a family tie, my dad was in it, my granddad was in it, things like that, but they've still got to have that step and that confidence to come to a lodge and do it. What's 580 doing that helps with that? What do you think is, I know there's not one thing that will solve all, but what does 580 do to help the younger generation understand Freemasonry?
There's not a panacea, and we've not invented that to get younger members into the lodge. It's about engaging with people differently. And I think the work that you guys in particular at 1029 are doing with social media is indicative of what we should all be doing to try and recruit younger members. But I remember when I was younger, I think I heard Dougie Monroe saying it in one of the podcasts about the Masonic meetings in evening news. Nobody reads papers anymore, but they're all on social media, whether that's on TikTok, whether that's on Telegram, Facebook. They've all got access to social media. Their faces are never out their phones, literally. And if you're not active and engaging with people differently, then you're missing out on a massive opportunity. Obviate the need to have your open days.
Yes.
And to have your fairs, to have wee open door sessions where they can come along. Your temple set up, you've got a wonderful benefit here that this is set up all the time. We can't do that. We've got different groups coming in, but you've got to mix that social media aspect with the traditional way of trying to recruit members as well. And that is your open days, but it's also family members, it's also your friends. And we had 2 past masters came back recently, and just before they came back, we had 3 or 4 came through, but they brought another 3 through that's going to see us with live meetings for the end of the year and into the new year. You know, and that for us, that's brilliant. We're working live degrees. We're not having to do exemplifications.
Which is a good thing.
Sorry?
Which is a good thing. We did the Pennycook Gala on Saturday, and when I was standing there, guy I used to ride bikes with, big Gaz, back in 20 odd years ago, we used to run with a club called Cruiser Club Caledonia. His dad seemingly was a past master, 80. So he came up to me on Saturday and says, listen, I knew you were coming because I saw the adverts on Facebook that you were coming today, and says, listen, your podcast. Well, that's brilliant. He says, I've got a present for you. He says, it's quite emotional for me, he says. So he gives me a Zippo lighter with Masonic symbols on it. So it was his dad's. So he says, I want you to have that. And I went, thanks very much.
Brilliant.
Really nice.
Aye.
And he says, I grew up with Mason. My dad was in it. My granddad was in it. And he says, I'm thinking about taking that step now. He says, well, you pass on your details to me and I'll put you back in touch with Mark. And you can join up with 580. As much as he's for Pennycook, he wants to join 580. So I'm waiting on him getting in touch with me, and then I'll pass on his details.
Well, it's to be better, Stuart.
I
But
think it's like,
that was the social media
yeah,
part of it.
I
you
mean,
know.
and
I've
that's
known
it.
him for years. I never even
It's-
knew the connection for Freemasonry.
I mean,
I knew it.
the way I see it with the social media as well is it's not a recruitment campaign. We're not putting out posts saying we want you, blah, blah,
No.
blah, blah, blah.
It's
What we're
awareness,
doing
isn't it?
is we're sharing what we do.
Yeah.
And what that does, in my opinion, is breaks down the perceptions that people have. And they look at it and say, I saw a picture of you doing such and such on Saturday. What was that? I says, that was with the Masonic Riding Association, or it was with the lodge, and we're doing this and that. Well, I never realised they did that. And when you start to then get new members coming in that are younger, they're obviously going to get the part about, I saw on your social media that you've joined the Masons or something. What's that? So it's already generating the curiosity there
Yeah.
of someone within their own age group. But I think one of the things that I think you hit the nail on the head with is the lodge being open for other things.
Right.
Now, whether it's the open days community night or simply local communities using your facilities, because a lot of people I've met have never set foot in a lodge. But when they do, they go, right, this isn't what I was expecting. And that just opens the doors for people to ask a bit more about it, find out a bit more about it, and eventually think, I would like to be part of this.
Aye.
So I think all that you and the guys are doing with the social nights, the community days, the open days, things like that, is a great way. And I think a lot of the lodges in Midlothian, including ours, we can all learn from each other what's benefiting there.
Definitely on
You
the
know,
social
and
side of
And if
things.
people are sitting there
Definitely.
thinking, yeah, we'd like to do social media for our lodge, but nobody knows how to do it, or we're not sure, then what I would say is reach out to the lodges that you do see doing it and
Mhm.
say, can you help us? Can you point us in the right direction, or what do we do? You don't necessarily have to be on every single platform because they all have different audiences that are there. But, you know, if you just want to start off on Facebook, it lets people know that you are there.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. When somebody goes, there's a lodge in our area, where's that about? You've got to sort of learn from that.
As I told you before, this used to be called the party hall.
Aye.
Nobody
Aye.
knew it was a lodge. It's the same on the social side of things. We don't
Aye.
do enough up here. We really need to start pushing a bit more up here as well. For the local community and our own members, because we don't do enough of it.
Aye. But so, that night you had, last year, the curry night was absolutely brilliant. Bernard and I had a fantastic time. But you know, it's not just the work we're doing inside the lodge, it's the work in the community too.
Yes.
Like you were leading into there, Stevie. It's your charitable work, you know, and our community night this Thursday, so we've invited 10 different groups in, as well as local councillors, MPs, community groups, 10 charitable organisations that are all going to
Alright.
get a donation on Thursday night. It's one of your own brethren that's doing the buffet.
Yeah.
For 10:29, he's doing the food.
And if you're at the curry night, you'll know what you're missing.
I think I'm at 5 plates. He's coming for them to tell me to stop.
I think everybody was having a go at even the vegetarian curry, and I don't think Eddie was expecting that. It was like,
No.
wait a minute, there's a meat one there and a vegetarian one, and they were both delicious. But it is things like
Aye.
that. And, you know, ultimately, I think that's what's the heart of Freemasonry. It's about helping others, you know, and what we can do for them and how we can help that. And if that's just, you know, on Saturday, it was Thornton Rose riding school for the
The
disabled.
disabled, yeah.
Aye.
Asked us across for a picture with the Widow Son Solomon's garden. We couldn't move the bikes for health and safety, but it says, well, will you just come across and get a picture with us? And they've put it on their Facebook, and we've tagged and shared on our Facebook. So hopefully somewhere people are now realising that there's that facility within Bonnyrigg that they didn't know about it before. And that is about helping each other in whatever way you can. As we're sort of heading up to the end here, what's the future for 580? What does the future for 580 look like in your eyes?
I think it's promising. I think we are on the crest of a wave. I think that I've built upon excellent work by my predecessors, and I hope that whoever comes into the chair after me feels that I've left the lodge in a better condition than when I came into the chair, because I brought improvements to it.
You can't ask for more than that.
What advice would you give to lodges out there that feel that they might be struggling, that they need a bit of help? What would your advice to them be? Again,
you've got to think outside your four walls and think outside the box, and it's going visiting, and it's going to see how other lodges are doing things, not just within your own province, but out with, but also encourage your own brethren to visit. If you're struggling to get visitors, it's because you're not going out visiting. I'm an honorary member of two lodges in Airdrie, both fantastic lodges, and one of them went down to one meeting a month, but they go out en masse, and maybe one time a week there'll be about 10 of them at a different lodge somewhere in West Central Scotland, and the other times of the week they'll go to 5 or 6 different lodges collectively between them.
Right.
And the return and dividend they get on that is phenomenal. At their one monthly meeting, they never drop below 80 or 90.
Wow.
I've been there when there's been 130 over the tile. And it's all about, if you go out, they'll come and see you.
Yeah.
Visiting's a big thing. I can't stress enough.
Getting yourself known.
Oh, aye. Yeah. I can't emphasise how important visiting is. It's a lifeblood of the craft.
But the good thing you're doing with your visiting as well, though, you're posting all your visits on social media. So everybody is getting to see where you are going.
And he posts quicker than me. I sometimes wait until the following morning before I get a post done, but guaranteed by the time I get home, he's already got his post up there.
There's only one person in Midlothian that beats the two, and that's Davy Mitchell. He's halfway down the road and then the post's up there. And then he always puts in we added him. And George Blender came.
Davy always starts off though, and he's right, which will be a great evening. As long as he's travelling to the meeting, post done. Yeah. We'll just go in and edit that one now that I've done it. But Davy's a great guy and a prolific visitor.
Again, I mean, does Davy senior warden?
He is,
yeah. So he knows it's time for the chairs coming, and he's out there, he's getting on it. And I would struggle to find anyone that doesn't know.
And the same getting on the membership 2 weeks ago as well. Royal Thistle Road's got that. Like, for another sort of younger Mason, and you yourself, like you've got 2 on the membership. I just picked one up a few weeks ago with 78. That's team me 34, 35 years, and I do visit. Really appreciate it.
Davy's another one's dedicated.
We have a couple of things I'll say about lodges that maybe think they're struggling. I'm not saying that we're doing everything right, but be honest with yourselves and ask, why would someone want to come and visit my lodge tonight? What am I putting on? What's the quality of our degree work like? Is it a live degree? How's our harmony? Are our members going to stay behind for harmony? What is going to entice somebody into your lodge? And also listen to your own members, because they've sat through it all before.
Yeah.
No, I would totally agree with that. So as we wind up these episodes, we developed a thing called the quick fire round. I can't always guarantee the caliber of the questions because we've had things like tea or coffee, and that's usually
coffee.
That's usually stump people.
We've got some decent ones this week.
We've got some decent ones. So I think we might have covered this one.
First one for you. Best night you've ever had as a master of your lodge?
My first installation. Without a doubt, aye.
What's your most stressful moment as master?
I always make a mistake. Every single meeting, every bit of ritual, I know.
We all do.
And I beat myself up, and I can feel myself getting flushed, and I can feel the beads of sweat coming down when I do it. So every week I have a stressful moment as master.
What's the funniest thing that's happened to you while you've been in the chair?
There's that many. I couldn't really bring it down to one specific one, but there's a story recently, and I'll not name names. Somebody told me the Bible was the wrong way around at a meeting, and someone else said, that's how the master likes it. Well, I've never had that conversation with anybody before. Somebody put it the wrong way around and said it was me, but it turns out that person had a sore hand.
All right, okay.
And it was easier to open it with the other hand.
Right.
Meantime, I've got past masters, give me that.
You get blamed for it. Favourite festive board meal?
Steak pie, every time.
Here's a hard one for you. One word to describe 580. One thing that you think every lodge should try to do better.
Communicate with our members, communicate with other lodges, and communicate with the province.
100% agree with you. Communication's key. Absolutely key. It's been absolutely fantastic having you here tonight. We hope it's not been too difficult for you, and really appreciate you coming along. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. And regardless of the number of lodges or provinces, I think there's a lot of lessons to be learnt from what 580 has been doing that everybody can take on board, the creating the energy, friendships, inclusivity, because you've always made your visitors feel very, very welcome. And making them want to actually be involved. I think that's great. And that comes back to a testament about people that want to come in and do degrees and things like that for you.
Yeah, and that's what we all think progressive Freemasonry should be all about.
So thanks again to the Right Worshipful Master Mark McCluskey of Lodge St Leonard, Loanhead and Lasswade. Got that right. Number 580 for joining us. We thank you again. We're doing this through in Curry. You've come through for us to do that tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Absolute pleasure.
And we look forward to attending more and more of 580's things over the coming months. I've got my names down for some of the events already. Definitely 3 tickets. I'm just shouting out Jimmy Bat Young, 3 tickets for the dance this year. Otherwise, my mother-in-law will kill me.
And I'll just put this out to all the other masters, past masters, and some of the other characters that are in Midlothian. Don't get too complacent, because we will be asking you. Come on and have a wee chat with Asphalt and Aprons.
Can you? Ride safe, take care, and we'll see you in the next episode of Asphalt Aprons, folks. Have a good one.
Cheers for now, folks.